But so maybe let's start with what strategy execution means to you, Vikrant, and the different roles maybe you've held in the space over the years.
Sure. So for me, strategy execution, is really not project management. It's really the operating system of the enterprise. I think it's how an organization turns intent into impact. And I have seen strategy execution evolve to be much more holistic. Today, it's more about connecting people, processes, data, incentive, technology, and then building the capabilities that allow organizations to actually sustain the change. And basically, I think what's changed the most over the years for me is that execution used to be kind of about delivering projects. Now it's more about organizations build a muscle, a project ends, but a capability compounds. And that shift has really reshaped how I think about the work in this area.
I love the way you put that. So we think about some of the challenges you've seen,
Mhm.
developing the strategy execution muscle in the organization, over your time. What are some that come to mind?
Well, plenty of challenges. So, one of the reason I find healthcare so fascinating and so challenging is that it's a highly fragmented system. Every service line has its own workflow, its own system, its own regulatory realities, if you will. So, just getting alignment on definitions or on a data model, or even what good looks like, that can take some work. So, but I mean, that's, I think these challenges are kind of prevalent in other industries as well, but more pronounced in healthcare. But one of the biggest challenge, which I think is much more pronounced in healthcare, it's really isn't technology or the infrastructure. It's the human side of it. And the reality is, the clinicians are stretched thin. Care teams are really under pressure, and unless they kind of understand the why behind, what matters to them, adoption really doesn't happen. So one of the quotes that I, largely share with the teams or even with the start of the project when I implement change management, that's something that really needs to be a back of the mind for everyone is, the chains of habits are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. And I think it's the truth. If the tool doesn't make a clinician's job easier, it just becomes a distraction, an overhead, or just a noise. And that's where really one of my passions is how we integrate AI into in healthcare, and that's where that conversation to me is so interesting right now. And as you have kind of in the past recent months or so, what we are seeing is the market is waking up to the fact that the hype around AI is far ahead of the actual value that it's delivering. So you really can build an advanced model, but if the clinician doesn't use it, the value is zero. you know, and in all of those, in my mind at least, that intelligence has to be embedded so deeply in the workflow that it just feels like a part of a care experience. And that's where I really think transformation happens.
That's interesting. I mean, we talk at Strategy XF about mastering both the art and science of
Hmm.
strategy execution, right? And
Hmm.
I think the science represents different frameworks, different best practices to ensure all investments and folks are aligned with strategy. I think the art of that brings into what you said. It's the human dimension, right? And
Exactly.
I think that's a huge aspect to focus on, right? Because whether it
Yep.
is the human dimension of adoption, or whether it
Hmm.
is adoption of a new tool or functionality that you're talking about, or whether
Yeah.
it's the human dimension of just wanting to adhere to a new strategy execution process that's being established in the organization and not push back against the alignment and visibility that process or capability
Hmm.
will deliver, versus just going back to your old way of executing.